I discovered I was 187,000 Australian dollars in debt.
Simone Milasas.
Simone Milasas.
By Simone Milasas.
Simone Milasas. She's the author of Joy of Business.
And from that space, becoming a multi-millionaire, it's not an easy task.
We're so willing to know our limitations and we're so unwilling to acknowledge our capacities.
Challenges that people find difficult in their whole career is decision making.
If you actually stop meditating and start choosing, maybe these limitations will dissipate and you'll find out what your capacities are. Most people spend their entire lives two things, either trying to be like others or be liked by others. And I was cutting my hand in various places to see if I could get some attention. We're sort of taught and ingrained to look outside of ourselves for validation.
I personally
I discovered I was 187,000 Australian dollars in debt.
Simone Milasas.
Simone Milasas.
By Simone Milasas.
Simone Milasas. She's the author of Joy of Business.
And from that space, becoming a multi-millionaire, it's not an easy task.
We're so willing to know our limitations and we're so unwilling to acknowledge our capacities.
Challenges that people find difficult in their whole career is decision making.
If you actually stop meditating and start choosing, maybe these limitations will dissipate and you'll find out what your capacities are. Most people spend their entire lives two things, either trying to be like others or be liked by others. And I was cutting my hand in various places to see if I could get some attention. We're sort of taught and ingrained to look outside of ourselves for validation.
I personally believe that one of the basic desires of a human soul is expression. You would find people who are doing some kind of tantrums or some kind of tactics or strategies to be visible in the environment that they're a part of.
My point of view is, if you are honoring you, if you are trusting you, if you are grateful for you, if you are vulnerable with yourself, then that is a much bigger world. I was worldwide coordinator of Access Consciousness, the company I work with, for 18 years. In my first book that I ever wrote called Joy of Business, there's a chapter in there and it says, do you do business like a man or a woman? But I do business more like a man. I'm more like, okay, what if we do this, 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 this? And I'll move a lot quicker. Choose who we be. Choose to be the greatest of our capacities every single day. So that's one of the questions I ask all the time. What awareness did I gain from this choice?
Hey Simone, such a pleasure having you here. How have you been?
Thank you, GRB. Thank you for having me here. I've been fabulous. Fabulous day in Australia. I'm going to be totally honest. I think I have this love-hate relationship with India. It's like I first went there, as I was telling you, when I was 15 years of age, and I went to a, I guess like an ashram, Meher Baba, out near Amanagar, near Pune. And I didn't really I was a troubled 15-year-old as well. I guess so many teenagers are. I was, nobody understands me, all that sort of thing. And my father was doing business there. So, and at this ashram, you had to stay, the women stayed in their section, the men stayed in their section. That's where you slept, etc. And look, I was really lost and I was looking for someone to notice me. I was looking for someone to say, hey, what's up, right? I wasn't really giving a whole lot of stuff away, but I was looking for that. And you know what? I actually really found a lot of peace in we used to go to Aarti in the morning, really early in the morning and walk up the hill and go up there and, sing songs and do all of that. And I was lucky enough at that time. I don't know if you know Meher Baba, but he had his disciples and there was a few of them that were still alive at that time. So I was lucky enough to meet them. And I didn't quite know if I believed in everything that they were talking about, but there was an energy there that I was like, okay. I just showed you before. I found this in a shop the other day and it says, don't do your best, then don't worry, be happy and I'll help you, right? And there was that sort of energy for me that I sort of went, okay. And it instead of looking outside of me for some contribution, I think I found it within myself. which was
At an
really
age of
great.
15.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was a little shocked. I was like, yeah, of course. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I'm wondering, when I was 15, I think my world revolves around my friends. It used to revolve around how I look, how people perceive me. Am I getting the validation from the world that I live in? And from there, as you mentioned, that nobody understand me. Nobody understand me. Look at me. I'm present here. I am available. And from that space to looking within, I think it's a beautiful journey. Not
Yeah.
many
It
are
is.
blessed to have that kind of journey.
You know, it's funny that we're talking about this because I don't think I've told many people this story, and it's not that dramatic, but you know the beautiful Indian bracelets that you get, and the glass ones that you have? Well, I had a whole arm full of them, right? And this was at 15 years of age. This is what I did at this place, at the barber center, to see if I could get some attention. Was I took one off and I was cutting my hand. I still have a scar on my hand from it. And I was cutting my hand in various places. And then some lady said to me, "Oh, what happened?" And I said, "Oh, I was taking my bangles off and they broke and I cut my hand," right? And she goes, "Oh, let me just put like a little bandage on there for you." And at that moment, I went, wow, she's not willing to see what is really going on. And I
Mm.
think that's the moment that I sort of went, oh, I have to have a look at what's really going on. What am I trying to get attention for? Like you said, you know, I was also looking at my image for validation, trying to prove something, all of that. So I think I was looking for that, but I realized unless I actually ask for it and say, hey, can you
Mm.
help me? No one was going to reach out and just say, hey, you okay? Because I was acting
Yeah.
like I was, you know?
Yeah. Simon, isn't it interesting that the same behavior is so visible in the corporate culture as well? You would find people who are doing some kind of tantrums or some kind of tactics or strategies to be visible in the environment that
Yeah.
they're a part of. Yeah.
Yeah.
Simon, is it a fair assumption that unless you work on to understand the need, where is this coming from, to be visible and be seen, it will continue to stay with you without you being even aware of that? It will show up in your adulthood as well.
Yes, I absolutely. We're sort of taught and ingrained to look outside of ourselves for validation. And I think that is one of the most powerful, potent things that you can choose. And especially in the workplace too, that if you are not looking outside of you for validation, you are like comfortable in your own skin and you're willing to make mistakes because this is not about getting it right. It's absolutely not about getting it right. I have stumbled so many times in business, like stumbled and fallen, but that's not relevant. It's like, what am I going to do the next day? Am I going to get up and brush my knees off and go, okay, what did I gain from that? Because I find every single time I choose something like that, I gain an awareness. So that's one of the questions I ask all the time. What awareness did I gain from this choice? Not, oh my goodness, you know, dramatic. Did I get it right? Was I wrong or whatever? No, what awareness did I gain from this?
Yeah. Yeah. Simon, let's double click on what we are talking about. And I was not expecting that we'll get into this conversation.
I wasn't either.
Right.
I'm telling you, I think there's 3 people in the world I've told that story to. So there you go.
Thank you. You know, I personally believe that one of the basic desires of a human soul is expression. And expression is when you are able to express from your core gifts, from the superpowers that you have been blessed with. So there's a deep desire to express so that I could be seen, I could be heard. One of those basic levels of psychological safety comes from when I know that I belong here.
Yeah.
So this is one part we are talking about. And on the other part, what we are talking about, that there's a need to get the validation. Where is the thin line where we don't understand that it's not the desire of a human soul, and now I'm getting addicted to the external validation?
Okay, I'm just going to throw it out there and just and like pretty much like throw dirt on all of that and go, what if everything that you were told your whole entire life you found out was a lie? What if you never needed validation? It never actually creates what you think it's going to create because you think something else is going to show up and it doesn't. Because even if you look at the times that someone has validated you, it's like got this instantaneous, like, great, and then it sort of has a hollowness to it.
Yeah.
My point of view is, if you are honoring you, if you are trusting you, if you are grateful for you, if you are vulnerable with yourself, if you have these elements with you, then that is a much bigger world. And that actually matches the world that we are asking for with the validation and not getting.
Yeah. So where is the thin line?
Again, like you mentioned, asking a question, which I think is so valuable. And one of the questions I would ask too is, am I trying to prove something with this choice? And then also, a really powerful question is, who do you think of before you choose? Because so many of us think, and we go, oh, I've got to think of my kids, my partner, my husband, my wife, my boss, my mother. But what if you actually put you as first? And I know a lot of people go, oh, but I have to take care of my kids. And they have this justification. I'm telling you, if you're actually choosing for you, it's going to include all of those people that you have this great gratitude for. But when you're choosing for you, you show everybody else in the world that they can choose for them, and you are not a lesser being. None of us are lesser beings.
Yeah. And one of the assumptions that I'm listening right now is as if I know who I am. Because you said something so powerful, Simone. You said it in such a flow that it might come across something which is very simple, but only if I could listen to what you said. For me, that itself is $1 million statement. You said, if only I could take care of myself, everyone else would get included.
Yeah.
And just imagine the kind of inclusivity you must be operating from, which people might not be able to experience in their lifetime. Simone, shifting the gears from here. Since our audience come from the corporate arena, one of the challenges that people find difficult in their whole career is decision making. I'm just wondering if there's any connection between a need for validation and their inability in making effective decisions. If there is, what is that?
Yeah. And I like the way you just described, like your listeners and who they are. And then what I would finish that with too is, they're also infinite beings on this planet, and they're also living. I see so many people have created this separation with corporate and gone, oh, this is corporate. And it's almost like, you put your clothes on to go to work and now I become somebody else. Like I remember, I've got this really cute story. When I was a kid and my father used to go off to work and he would wear a suit and a tie and he'd take his briefcase. As I watched him, to me, that briefcase was just the most important thing. I was like, whatever he's doing, whatever my dad's doing, that briefcase is so important as a kid, right? Do you know, years later, we laughed about this because do you know what he had in his briefcase? He had his sandwich, his apple, and his newspaper. So it was really important to him. But I think even if we work in corporate, what if you are leading, you are a catalyst? It's like the choices you make today, the action you take today creates a different future. So for me, it's like, what generosity of spirit can you be with yourself? And can you be with others in the workplace? And what if leading looked completely different to what you think it is? Like, what if leading was, as you mentioned, asking questions, surrounding yourself by capable people, listening, and the ability to choose, but not having to get it right. There is more freedom in choosing than having to get it right.
Irrespective of the role that you are playing, irrespective of the level you are operating from. So, Simone, what do you think? What differentiates one individual from another? How come one takes a lot of time in taking decisions, the other one, for the other person, it's like a cakewalk? You bring any challenge, the person would look at that and they would be very comfortable making an informed decision. That could be difficult as well at times.
I've got in my first book that I ever wrote called Joy of Business, there's a chapter in there and it says, do you do business like a man or a woman? Right? And people go, what? But here's the way, and I'm not talking about, if you're a man or if you're a woman, I'm also referring to how do you do business? Because most men are quite direct. right? They'll be like, okay, let's do this. Boom, 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 right? Most women like to talk about things and they like to share things. And this is not about judgment and it's not about separation. This is about awareness, okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
Me, it's like, I'm a woman. I love being a woman. I love being a lady. I love men, like the whole thing. But I do business more like a man. I'm more like, okay, what if we do this, 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 this? And I'll move a lot quicker. So that is one tool that I would have a look at. It's like, how do people do business? Some people, you know, when you work with people and one person, you just want to go straight into it. And the other one, you need to go, how was your weekend? Did you have did you have a nice day yesterday and everything? I don't require that. I'm so much more enthused if you go, okay, so what are we doing project? Yeah. And I don't think you're rude. I'm like, you're to the point. Okay, let's go. But some people require that other conversation. And like I said, this is not about right and it's not about wrong. It's about acknowledging how somebody functions so that you can get more out of them as well when you are addressing all of this. It's a bit of a weirder sort of concept of it.
Yeah.
That's the way I look at one of them.
Yeah. You know, it reminds me of a friend of mine. His name is Saurabh Huda. He's in Canada. I think he does business like men. I do business like women.
Yeah.
Because I need a lot of time to make sure that I'm comfortable, the other person is comfortable.
Yeah.
But being Saurav, he said, Gaurav, that's BS. What's that agenda? Tack, 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 tack. And the other person is not performing. Gaurav, why are you staying with this person? Just fire him.
Yeah.
Two of his favorite words are hire and fire. And I would say, sort of, it does not work like that, my friend. You never know the story the other person might have, what he might be operating from, what she might be going through. And he would say, Gaurav, just shut up. You just get out of this room.
But it's true. It's like the way you just described that. I mean, it's beautiful the way you're looking at it. But do you get to someone like him? It's almost frustrating because he's like, I'm sorry, they're not doing their job.
Yeah.
Let's get rid of it, you know.
And
what
he
if
keeps me sane. He keeps me sane. Otherwise, I would be off track all the times. And I'm not surprised, Simone, that there was a time when you were under a debt of $187,000. And from that space, becoming a multi-millionaire, it's not an easy task. On several occasions, you have spoken about hesitation trap in context of decision making. Can you please help us understand what is hesitation trap and how does that interfere in an individual's ability to make effective, informed, fair decisions?
Well, I mean, for me, it's like when someone's hesitating, I think the only reason why you hesitate is because somewhere you've decided that there is something that you cannot be or don't want to be. And it's like, how many of you are not choosing and you're hesitating from choosing so you don't have to choose what is bigger than what you think you can handle? Because you think you can handle this. Like a lot of the times when I do seminars, I'll talk to people and say, go and choose something outside of your comfort zone. Like how many of you are comfortable with what you're choosing? Like I was worldwide coordinator of Access Consciousness, the company I work with, for 18 years. And then they asked me to go and do these seminars, right? And the more advanced seminars. So many people would have been like, yay. And I went, And I went, I really like being worldwide coordinator, you know? And I had to look at it and I went, oh, I am comfortable with being worldwide coordinator. And I was hesitant to go out there and put my face out there and deliver seminars. Why? Oh, probably because I wasn't willing to have a look at what I had decided that I might not possibly show up as, or what I had not yet chosen. Like, what if that's the adventure of living, is you keep choosing, you don't hesitate, so that you can actually have more, be more, create more, take more action, and create a different world.
Yeah. So, Simone, let me give you a couple of instances and let's try and look at them through the lens of hesitation trap. As you said, that either I'm not comfortable doing something or I feel I'll not be able to handle this situation. That's one. Now, there are different situations that I personally come across. Here is this person who happens to be the CEO of an organization, finding it extremely difficult to have a conversation with the country head of another organization that they have acquired. Right? That's one. There's another lady who finds it extremely difficult to invest money, on the courses she believes will help her grow. Another gentleman finding it extremely difficult to make a decision and leave the job which he believes does not deserve him, and he deserves a better pay package, a better organization. Here's this person who's struggling in a relationship. Her husband is an alcoholic, and she has a son, 7-year-old, finding it extremely difficult to get out of that relationship. Here's another gentleman who is invested in a new organization, has invested around $40 million in the last 4 months' time, now finding it extremely difficult to invest more on that so that they can take the organization to the next level. Now, there are different scenarios. There is some or the other thread involved. Now, if you can just help us understand on what basis people take decisions and what come in their way.
So every single one of those stories that you just said, I would have a very similar answer to, except for the last one. And I'll tell you why. Is because all of those, if you look at every story that you just went through, okay, there's a possibility that they have not yet chosen. Okay, so it's like having that trust that you go, okay, if I choose this, what else can show up? So many people are comfortable with where they are. Like I said before, like when I discovered I was 187,000 Australian dollars in debt, and then I finally made the demand that I would change this. And, you know, there's a whole lot of stories that go with that. But one of the main things I got to was when I actually got out of debt, I was like, this is it. And I was like, oh my goodness, there's like, where's the marching band? Like, where's the fireworks? Like, nobody's coming in going, yeah, you did it. You know, I was like, this is a little boring. And then I realized within 2 weeks that I found myself back in debt. And I started asking myself, what do I love about being in debt? And I realized I knew that energy. I was comfortable with it. And I think a lot of people don't choose something different that could create a greater possibility because they're comfortable, even if it's a bad marriage, you know, even if let's not pay for these classes because you know that it's going to, you know, create something greater. The last one that you said, though, with putting the millions of dollars in and then putting, the way you said it, putting more money in to upgrade.
Yeah.
Well, I'd still be asking questions. It's like, if I put more money in, will this create something greater? Or is there a different possibility? So for me, it's like there's a place where you hesitate because you're comfortable in what you know. And most of the time, guess what? You know your limitations. We're so willing to know our limitations, and we're so unwilling to acknowledge our capacities. You have so many more capacities than you're willing to acknowledge, but your limitations, you're like, no, I spent my whole life creating these. These are mine. Don't take these from me. But if you actually stop hesitating and start choosing, maybe these limitations will dissipate and you'll find out what your capacities are.
Beautiful, Simone. Thank you. So, you know, the words which are coming to me is, one is there's always a payoff in doing the things that you have been doing, and we get stuck with that. The second thing which is coming to me is loyalty towards your suffering.
Ooh. Wow.
Now, why would you be loyal to your sufferings when you know that this painful marriage it's not serving me?
Yeah.
Is there a payoff? I don't know. But then why would you be loyal to your suffering?
Well, one of the things you mentioned earlier is you said about how like we're all trying to fit in. Okay. I'm going to ask you the question, do you fit? Have you ever fitted? Or are you just different? And if we actually start to acknowledge that we're all different, like literally every single one of us is different. Like not even identical twins are the same, right?
Yeah.
We're all so different, and we spend our entire life trying to fit in. And how many people are suffering? So if you start to suffer, then you have this connection to others because you're suffering. Like if you use money as an example, I love when you talk about money, like if you're at a dinner party or family or something like that, or even listen to how people will address things. And they are more comfortable in complaining about money. I mean, look, the whole world at the moment, they put out there that there's a depression, right? There's not a lack of money. There's the projection that we're in a depression that projection of that and the expectation that we're all going to buy into that and then start creating that, there's not a lack of money. There's people choosing a lack of money. So when you listen to it, people start talking about it, and, even they're like, oh, no, I've got the kids' school fees, or the mortgage just went up, or whatever they're complaining about. How often do you hear someone go, oh, I'm great. I don't have a problem with money. I'm awesome. People don't do that. They don't acknowledge that they actually don't have a problem because they love inventing a problem so they can suffer like everybody else. I'm suggesting, what if we flipped that script, that script of our life, we pivoted, we changed the trajectory, all of us, and choose something different. Choose who we be. Choose to be the greatest of our capacities every single day. What would our world be like then?
So help me understand, why would I, one is because I would like to be like other people.
Yep. Most people spend their entire lives, two things, either trying to be like others or be liked by others.
Is to be like others or to be liked by others. And the question is, what if I'm willing to change the narrative and the script that I've been living with and ask a question, who could I be with the capabilities that I've been gifted with? Simone, very often I come across people who have got no clue. If you ask me, Gaurav, what are your superpowers? Barring one or two, I might go blank. How can I get to know my superpowers? What are my gifts from which I can express myself so that I don't get in the spiral down mode of getting validation from other people, or there's a need to be like others or liked by others?
Yeah. Well, I would say one of the things you can start looking at too is, it was two things. One is what brings you joy, like what makes you happy. Because usually what brings you joy and makes you happy, you're great at. You find it easy, okay? Now, a lot of the times, people who have a great capacity in something, they think is useless. Because, like you say, someone's a great connector. Those people, and every business needs a good connector. You can have a great product, a great service, everything's looking amazing. You've got these amazing people, but if the world doesn't know about it, it's not going anywhere.
It will not go anywhere.
No, one of the final things that a business needs, and continuously, is that ability to connect and engage with the world. So there's some people, there's people who get in an elevator and they're like, morning, or they get on a plane and they're happy to talk to the person next to them and they're a great connector.
Yeah.
Most people who are a great connector will just dismiss it and go, anyone can do that. And you're like, no, they can't. It's like, it's a capacity. So I think we're looking for this big, this capacity that's just like, is delivered to you on this gold platter and like, here it is. And it's like, no, what if who you be is your greatest capacity, and what are you great at? I mean, you're good at this. It's like, you're good at doing these podcasts. It's like, you're good at interviewing. Have you acknowledged that?
One of my teachers, he often tells me that, Gaurav, what is visible to you, you believe is visible to everyone. What you are good at, you believe everyone would be good at, without understanding the kind of investment of time, energy, money, hopes that you have invested to sharpening this skill. The other person might not be willing to invest that kind of energy and time. And then how can you expect the other person to be good at what you do as good as you are? And at the head level, I would say, yeah, what you're saying is making sense. But deep down, there is a whisper that's saying, just, this is bullshit. This is no extraordinary. You have to find something that can help you add more value to the other person. And that's often, Simone, I find I don't have.
But you do. You do. What if you stop lying to yourself? Like, what if we stopped doubting? Every time you go to doubt, like the next time you go to doubt, and anyone listening here, have a look at that energy. It's an energy. It's the energy of doubt. It's like, is that the place where you start to hesitate because of what? Maybe you don't want to be different. Nobody else is looking at this. So you're going, oh, nobody else is looking at this. Then I must be insane for having this point of view. No. Well, what if you are insane? Who cares? Like, why do you care? What if you keep choosing? Like, look at all the amazing people that we've had in this beautiful planet over the, thousands of years who have created a change.
Yeah.
They were vilified for who they be, like what they chose.
Mm.
But they
You know,
knew.
this is really interesting, Simone. As I'm just listening to you, there are so many people coming to my mind. I've heard them saying, I have I've seen them, I've witnessed them being apologetic for the decisions that they did not take in the past. And the ironical part is they are not going to take the decisions coming their way as well. And after 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, they would still be apologetic. And I'm wondering what's going on in their mind, that you know that now today you are apologetic because you did not take the decision in the yesteryear, and there's an opportunity today as well, and I'm not moving, I'm not doing anything right now as well, and in the coming year I would be apologetic for
Again.
something that I could do today. What is this
Well,
cycle?
to be honest, to me, that's not a leader. It's like, and it's not a judgment. It's just not a leader. Someone who leads is going to choose. Somebody who leads is going to choose no matter what. They're not looking, as we've mentioned, they're not looking for the validation. And they're also willing to get it wrong. They're willing to go, you know what? I'm sorry, I stuffed up there, but I gained so much awareness. I'm going to make this choice over here. Just because it didn't work last year, it doesn't mean it's not going to work this year. I see a lot of people put, a decision that they made last year that didn't work and go, oh, that didn't work. And you just straight away go, oh, well, that didn't work. It's not going to work. Well, that's a conclusion. There's no question in that. Okay, just because it didn't work last year, will it work this year? Will it work today? Ask a question. So I think for me, it's like, that's not true leadership. A leader is willing to go no matter what.
Yeah. And I just
has unapologetically you.
I just love the way you reframe what most of us perceive as a failure.
It's not.
You said that it's always important to ask this question, what am I aware of today that I was not aware of yesterday because of this situation, rather than calling it a failure? So, Simone, if you were to offer your understanding, your ways of handling this hesitation trap of not taking a decision, just any 1, 2, or 3 tips that you may want to share as per your experience.
Well, I would say one is stop judging yourself. Just stop judging yourself, because we limit and we stop everything when we start judging ourselves. Learn to laugh at yourself. Like, a question that I will ask is, what's so funny about this? I'm not laughing about it, especially when it's a situation that you're like, the last thing you're going to think you're going to do is laugh. But it's like, okay, maybe you just lost money, a deal didn't go through, or whatever it is. It's like, you missed a plane to a really important meeting. Okay, what's right about this I'm not getting, and what's so funny about this I'm not getting? Because I think we make things way too relevant in this world.
Way too important than they are.
Yeah. And here's a key too. The second you make something relevant and significant, it will control you. So money, for example.
Beautiful.
If you make money significant and the most important relevant thing, money will always control you your whole life. You'll only ever choose based on money.
Yeah.
What if you're the valuable product?
What if the currency is something different? I tell people that what if tomorrow there's a new policy in the country that starting today the currency is not rupees, not dollars, but kindness.
Oh,
how many of
I
us
like
would
that.
still be rich?
I like that. Yeah. I've been asking a couple of, I give myself these questions every now and then just to ask because I'm always asking to change and be more and be greater each and every day. And 2 questions I've been asking myself at the moment is, what kindness can I be today? And what generosity of spirit can I be today?
Beautiful.
That's a really key one, is not judging yourself. And don't judge you in business, because if you look at business, right, and if you knew nothing about it, there was no definitions, there was no, there was no books, there was nothing, and you wake up tomorrow morning, what would you create? What do you know? Because
what would you create?
Yeah, it's like we reference the past and what everybody else has done, and like industry standard, we reference that for our choices. Stop it. It's like, what if you didn't judge you, and what if you didn't judge you in business?
Yeah. So that means, what is your unique way in business? I think it connects back to where we started this conversation. can I operate from a space of my own unique gifts? Can I operate from a space of my unique superpower? I remember when I started these podcasts, I would look at how Oprah would do it, how Larry King would do it, how David Letterman would do it. And I would try and copy them. And of course, I would falter. I would not have the next question.
Yeah.
And I would feel sorry for myself. And more importantly, sorry for the guest as well, because I would put them in a trap. And the moment I started this, hey, let me just flow, let me just engage in a conversation, let me just listen, let me be genuinely curious. Can I show up in a way where the person is willing to let go of the masks that they are wearing, where they can show up from their true, authentic self? I think from that point onwards, the conversations changed.
Yeah. And it's more relaxing for someone like me coming onto your podcast, because I'm not trying to fulfill something that I'm like, what is this? What am I trying to fulfill here? It's you and me, like you said, having a conversation and hopefully inviting other people and inspiring other people to be something greater.
Simone, thank you so much. It was a lovely conversation. I genuinely loved the flow. And thank you so much for, sharing with generosity your experiences. And I think holding the space, the way you held the energy, if I may use your word. And I look forward to have you again. And I think next time would love to dwell deeper into relationship with money. I think that's something I would definitely need more guidance. And I'm sure our audience would appreciate that as well.
That sounds great. I would love to. Thank you so much for having me on here. Thank you.